And I am Rachel.
And with us, we have
Tay, your preferred, or how do you?
That's what I go by.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, like I know it's Setvontay, but thanks.
You got it right too on the first time.
You and I love more to come.
Thank you so much.
Hey, how did you find yourself in Substack or get introduced to Substack?
Well, one of my friends, she cooks a lot, and she started posting her Substack. I was like, why don't I just hop on Substack and work on my writing?
I was interested to see if maybe it was because you were already doing a publication, because I know a lot of people are switching. I'm new to the newsletter world.
Me too. I was trying to find like a newsletter, how to break down my book, but then I found Substack, and I started breaking my book down on that.
Yeah.
And I just started throwing like random things in there.
So you just, in Substack, you just started using it to inform people more about your book?
Yep.
So which book were you doing that with? Because I know you have a few out.
My most recent book, More to Come.
Did I read or hear that you didn't like your first book?
I didn't like my third book.
I feel like it's cool to just publish anything. Like that's, I want to publish a book. I just haven't.
See, I have this because I published my first book and then I published my second book. My third one came after my accident. I didn't like that as much. I feel like I forced that one.
And like
it's kind of flow.
Mm-hmm. And I think with being sober, I'm a lot more in touch with being authentic.
More to Come was my first sober book ever.
That had to have felt good.
It felt amazing.
Because I've looked at my notes like from the past and whatnot from before being sober, and a lot of it's very sad, like very dark. And I used to like argue that alcohol is not a depressant because I'm like, well, I get why, you know. And I'm like, stepping back from it, I can see how sad it was making me when I go back and read some of the stuff I've journaled or wrote in my phone.
Right.
Now you knew.
Yeah.
Because you live with me, but you know, I would have argued with you that like, no, that's not how it is, but that's how it was.
Stupid.
Yeah.
But you had a big positive spin on all of your books. Have been very like motivational, uplifting, very positive, like hope, really.
Yeah. But I just realized like when I was writing my first one, I would like write a chapter and then I would reward myself with liquor. It's so backwards.
Yeah.
And once you take that out, you just do everything for yourself.
Yeah.
So when you said this last book was the first one you wrote sober, right? So what did you find? What did you do to reward yourself after a hard chapter or at the end? And while you were writing it, was your work ethic just better? Were you amazed of how just more efficient you were?
More efficient. I wouldn't reward myself like with drinks or anything. I would just sit back and read it back to myself. It was so much clearer.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because there is nothing worse than like having a project and like you wake up the next day and you're like, oh wow. And you're like,
exactly.
That's a lot of autocorrect couldn't get that.
Yeah,
like,
you're doing a lot more editing, you know? If you were drinking a lot more.
Oof, you could tell if I was drinking.
Then you would just write something to finish it because you wanted to make it to happy hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. By the end, we were drinking at home, and it was COVID, and I mean, it was bad. It was dark. It was a dark time again.
Well, and I was just like counting down as soon as it got to like 2:00. It was like, all right, just a couple more hours, or what excuse can I make up to get out of here to run to the liquor store and run home? And I mean, it was just any little thing.
Yeah.
As an excuse to just get out of work early or
congratulate yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Of just really, and it was just the smallest victories too. It's like, well, I got through it Tuesday.
Exactly.
And then we would get in fights because he would stop he's like, I'm just gonna stop for a shot on like, because he works in downtown, and I'd be home with the baby with Evan when he was a baby all day, and I'm like, no, it's my turn to drink, and then I would start anger drinking, and then he'd come home, and I'm like already sloppy,
Right.
and because I would go, man, I got angry. I was again, although like if you looked at my Instagram, you wouldn't think of me as an angry person, but I don't know. I got mean and vicious because like I just wasn't happy with myself, but I projected a lot. A lot in my drinking was what I'd wished I could do. How did you go through AA? Did you go through just working with someone, or how did you
I went through AA.
Yeah. And again, like we say every time, like we're not a representation of AA, but we also got sober through AA.
Right.
Was there a specific event or reason that you want to share on what made you decide to quit?
Yeah. I was after my accident, I was holding on. I was the brunch man, so I would go anywhere to brunch, and I was like, it can't be brunch if it doesn't have bottomless mimosas.
Yeah, and I remember being in the service industry, there came a point where I started shaking if I didn't have a drink, and so I would stink like a shot, or even on brunch shifts, I was for sure getting mimosas.
Yeah.
Like there was no doubt, and because I would shake, and so then it's like I have to drink
to be normal.
And that wasn't alarming,
Right.
But
I was a bartender too, so I understand everything going through.
That was on my amends list too, was that alcohol. Like technically I stole it because, we as like a bartender, server, whatever, I don't know why I felt so entitled. It's like,
Right.
oh, I didn't deserve the owners paid for that bottle. Like I understand they're making money, but they're also paying the rent. And I did feel badly because when you think about like the moral inventory of, yeah, that probably wasn't very nice. Would I like if someone did that to my restaurant? No. And yeah,
now you're gonna make me have to make amends.
Like we've talked about amends is it's for me, like I don't want to feel badly for it. And so like acknowledging it, saying it's there, and then like I can be sincere, or I practice until I'm sincere. And then I kind of let it go, and the burden is me carrying. They probably don't care, but I care.
Okay.
Well, maybe they care. I don't know. It's cool to see all these people kind of getting towards sobriety. It's nice.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and I also been enjoying just kind of the movement that now the younger generation is going to have addictions elsewhere to deal with. I feel like whether it's gambling or marijuana or the weed. I feel really old calling it the weed. God dang. But I feel like there's a big push for some of those things where a lot of the new generation or younger generation isn't that interested in drinking. And I find that to be interesting and really cool, but it also worries some of what other trap are they going to fall into that, in 20 years, what's their rehab situation going to be like? Because I could see gambling being a real big thing. I don't know if that's legal in Atlanta, but I know Texas, they're pushing hard to get casinos and sports gambling here.
What is your sobriety date again?
My sobriety day is August 16th, 2022.
Awesome. Yeah. And then we're November 22, 21.
Okay.
Yeah. And man, so what was that day like for you? Was it random?
Nah, because I actually called one of my close friends that actually goes to AA. He went to AA and became sober. And when he first became sober, I was just like, how did you become sober? Because we went to college together, and we used to say, no taste buds. when we drank, because when you drank, you didn't have no taste buds. You can do whatever you wanted.
Bottom,
So,
yeah.
right. So we used to call each other no taste buds. And then I seen he became sober. He's living a way better life. He's happy and he could be around liquor without even thinking about it twice.
Yeah.
So when I felt like I hit my rock bottom, because my mom, she had told me like, I want you to be sober. I want you drinking all the time, because she used to see how angry I would get when I didn't have no liquor. So I called him up. I was like, hey, what's A and how do I get into it? And he's like, he gave me the app, the meeting app. He's like, find a meeting near you and go in there. So that's what I did. I looked it up and I seen they had a meeting on Wednesday. So I went. It was like the scariest thing.
Yeah. That's how I felt.
Yeah. She had her fake name picked out and everything.
We sat in the back corner.
Right.
Yeah.
My name was going to be Cinderella.
I still remember there's a guy in there that goes there, and I remember the first thing he just like looked at us and said, "Hey, you guys are new. What's your name?" And just so energetic and full of energy.
I love him so much.
And I was just at the time, I'm like, who is this guy and why is he so happy? And like, you're just trying to sneak into this place, and then this guy just
I sat in the back too.
Yeah, and I'm getting called out, and then on day 2, he's like, "Hey, you're back."
He remembered our names and everything, and life was pretty blurry, pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know yet. We were just like, we were told we took the desire chip.
Right.
And that was scary too. And I don't know that I really understood, but it was that it was Teddy at the end, want to take, like, I'm like, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
it seems to be the thing to do. People are nudging us to take it, and you just,
because in the beginning, I don't know how y'all made this out wrong, but mine in the beginning, they're like with the chip shake, and then like anybody want to start a new life, we can have a white chip. I was like, looking around like, should I raise my hand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's scary. It's a lot. Like, I still, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I saw on Instagram, I guess,
because everyone looks at you and you're like,
yeah,
right.
You're like sitting here like sweat. I was sweating, shaking, and like
the booze sweating out.
I was so scared.
But I saw, on Instagram, you said I guess someone recorded your first year. You said, I didn't know there'd be birthday cake, and you're excited.
Right. I'm so happy.
And then you said for year 2 you wanted ice cream cake. So I was wondering if you do it with ice cream cake now.
No, I never got it.
Yeah, they didn't have cake at our birthday night either.
Yeah, our last one we didn't get cake.
And Evan was very upset.
Yeah, our son was bummed out because that's what he looks forward to at birthday night as well.
I wasn't able to go. I had no voice, and I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I'm still recovering from that. I don't know. It's fun. It's fun, but we're getting through it.
Yeah.
We're one day at a time, the steps help me live life. So,
and that's another thing that I've really found with AA is, and I don't know how you first thought of it, because like you said, we kind of go into this program unaware of what it actually is like. And I thought it was a program to help me stop drinking, not realizing it's kind of like this blueprint to help you live life. And it was something I never had, because I always felt a little self-conscious or a little scared to like just go out in the world and try in case I failed. And this just said, don't think long term like that, just one day at a time, just one step at a time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and I got a sponsor like right at I think it was 2 weeks, and it was that guy who was so happy and shared. I remember like pulling him to the side after the meeting, and I was like, so like, how do you even get a sponsor? And he's like, just go ask someone. I was like, go ask someone? I was like, absolutely not. Like, I am already like, again, it wasn't it hadn't, I mean, I went every single day and I pretty much just went meeting to meeting. Like it was meeting and I slept and the sleep started getting great. And,
Right.
then, I mean, for anyone listening now that's like thinking about sobriety, it takes like, I don't know quite when the transformation changes. I've seen it in my sponsees. I've seen it where we come to meet and there's a new light in their eye, and it's just trusting the process.
Yes.
And it doesn't, it's actually what have people said, that the steps are easy, we make it hard. You know, we make it as difficult or as easy as we want it to be.
Mm.
I really didn't stutter, other than, I mean, I did 2 weeks for my 4th step.
Mhm.
That was hard. It was hard. I carried it with me. I wouldn't even leave it here with you. I was like, nope, it came with me in my car. Because that was another thing I really liked from my sponsor, was she's like, moral inventory is moral. That means the good and the bad. And so for every bad thing I wrote, I also countered it with either what I learned or something positive, whether that be like I can share it with another person, or, you know, I learned I don't want to do that again, or whatever that be. And in my big book, I have moral means the good and the bad.
I thought it was so funny when I got my sponsor, because there's like, get a sponsor. So the first time I was like, I looked at somebody, I was like, hey, you want me my sponsor? He's like, yep, just call me.
And that was it.
Right. But then it was, he like moved away, so then I had to get another sponsor.
Oh. Yeah, and also for, again, just, I don't know who, again, I don't really know who listens, if anyone, like if this hits home, but not, if you don't gel with your sponsor, like it's not a commitment, it's not a contract. Whatever
Right.
you've seen on TV, like
Yeah.
there are some episodes where, even when we had just watched Clean and Sober, is a movie from, it's
The
like
80s.
from the 80s with Michael, no,
Keaton. Yeah,
Michael.
Keaton.
And like the sponsor like drives him home from rehab, and he like makes sure he, you know, and he's out there cleaning his house. And I mean, there are people that will do that, but also like it's not a babysitting thing, you know? Like
Right.
we're also not police, or if you sponsor, like it's the only thing that we can really do is suggest what we did, or
Mhm.
what someone else did and they told us how to do it.
Yeah.
Like if you're craving a drink, you go to a meeting, and or call another alcoholic. That's another big one.
Right,
You got a
exactly.
phone. Yeah, there's so many meetings online. Like
yeah, especially now.
I listened to podcasts for speaker meetings. Like that was how I listened to Joe and Charlie.
I know when I finally got my sponsor, because I was very slow to the process and slow in getting a sponsor. And when I reached out and asked him, hey, do you want to be my sponsor? One of the first things he did was reach out and talk to his sponsor and said, hey, Colin asked me to be his sponsor. And his sponsor told him, like, I've heard Rachel in the meetings. Are you sure you want to be this guy's sponsor? And he's like, it could be a real big commitment. And he's like, I think I can do it. And so I'm glad he took me on. But
another thing I learned, and it was hard. Like, I mean, one of the more difficult things in sobriety is I used to, again, before the steps, before learning about myself, is I would, hey, have you found a sponsor yet? And it wasn't in a nice, caring way. And I think I was in fear. I was in big fear.
mm-hmm.
Like I didn't know what I would do if you came home with alcohol. And everyone in the meeting scared me so much that like if you didn't get a sponsor, like you were gonna drink, or you were gonna be like this mean old person.
You gotta be humble to get a sponsor.
Yeah. Well, and he just wasn't ready. He had his own process, and I was told by my sponsor, his sobriety is none of my business.
Right.
My sobriety is my business. And, so she told me, focus on you. Like, it doesn't matter what he's doing. You shouldn't be asking, because how does it affect you if it's not happening? If I'm thinking it's going to happen, that's future tripping, but it's hard. It was hard.
And the reason I said you gotta be humble, because you actually gotta open up to this person. Tell them some of the darkest things you ever would have thought of. And I don't know how I do it, but my sponsor had read the big blue book to me, because he's like, "Did you read the big blue book?" I was like, "Yep." But then he's like, "You didn't read it." But then I was like, "No, I read it." But when he read it with me, it was like a whole new life opened. Like, he's explaining to me every little sentence.
Mhm.
Maybe to be a man and another man reading to me, it's like, nah, I don't know about this.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I felt the same. Like, at first, we're meeting, and the main thing we talked about was just what I don't remember what I said, to be honest. Like, I was like just scared, and the only thing I do remember, like, so specifically, is she asked me if I was willing to do anything to get sober. And I was like, absolutely. Like, I was like, I don't want to, I'm so tired of this life. Like, because I was still, I didn't understand how life was going to be without it. The first thing I'm like, how am I going to go to Evan's wedding? And he was 2. And I'm like, I'm going to be the weird mom that doesn't drink.
Yeah.
Like, no. And I can't. And I'm like, why is that my first thought? Like, if I want to be at my son's wedding, I don't want to be drunk. Like, I don't, and that's where the realization of like how the malady of the mind and
Right. Yep.
the jaywalker really resonates with me. That's a very big topic of, jaywalker goes across the street, breaks his arm. It's not that bad. We'll do it differently and do it differently and do it differently. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it differently anymore. I was done. I was toast.
What for you, what worked in the beginning when you were going through sobriety, and then how has that evolved to what you do now to stay sober?
I would say the biggest thing I heard was when that first meeting, there's just like, just don't drink today.
Mm-hmm.
That's what.
Right. And at first you think it's such a big thing, like, don't drink today? Are you crazy? But then once you wake up and you have that drink, you're just like, I could take over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even if I didn't, which I'll be honest, I was, with a toddler, and sometimes mornings were hard, but I told myself, like, having the commitment, and I think that is half of the reason for, suggesting 90 and 90. If you are OCD like I am, don't get obsessed with it, because then you're going backwards a little bit. But the point is that you wake up and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to the meeting tonight at 5, 6, etc. And you just make it till then. And then you go to the meeting, you feel good, you go to bed, and you're like, okay, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'll choose, and you just kind of practice it until.
In the beginning, I remember I used to go to the meetings at 6. I would just call my happy hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I play with my mind. You gotta play mind games.
With
I like
it,
that.
well, there was
Yeah.
people, and I don't know how I've been to, so we've been to like Vegas. I've done California. We did not do Michigan. Definitely not Florida.
I did Florida.
You have?
You haven't done
Yeah.
that before.
And there's usually people there early, and it's either someone with long-term sobriety or it's someone with like very little sobriety. And both are great, because you're
Right.
either learning or you're carrying the message. You know, like I've never been there and there's like no one to talk to.
Right.
It might be weird,
I
but
went to Florida last year, and my friend had died, and I was like losing it. So I called myself. He's like, find a meeting. It's anywhere near you. And I was like, I don't think I can do it. But once I entered that building, it was like a whole new light was shed on me. Like, they didn't just treat me like a stranger or anything. They like comforted me and spoke like life into me.
yeah, and that's how
Because
I mean
I knew at that point I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna drink.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's the thing I think that I really love about the AA is just everywhere you go, it's like the same but different. And
Well, I say I have friends everywhere.
yeah, exactly, because they all get it. And the one thing I feel like that if you're in this program, then you just immediately understand someone else's pain if they're struggling at that moment, and they will drop whatever to support and help you. And that's the real cool thing about the program.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I just felt so out of place because when you read Campbell's, it says like smash, and we smashed the table at my AA meeting.
Really?
And that footer, yeah, we like smash.
They don't do that here.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Interesting. Yeah.
I did that in Florida. It's like smash. I was like smash, and everybody just looked at me. I was like, "Oh, my bad."
Oh yeah, because in Texas we say it works if you work it.
Yeah.
And I remember they did not do that in Vegas.
That's right. They did hold hands though, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, not all.
And usually it's serenity prayer.
Uh-huh.
It's here in Texas. That was one of my other this was my moment where I thought I was on the Jim Carrey, the people, everyone's watching you like it's a big prank, like Ashton Kutcher we did not, we've been together 6 years at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't go to church and I didn't go to church. Like we were both on the same page on that. And at the end they say the Lord's Prayer and I'm like, I don't know it.
Right,
and I'm like looking around to see if it's and
then she's
our Father
who art in
heaven. I was like,
hallowed be that.
You don't know prayer? And I was like, what kind of prank is this? And I mean, I remember the whole time I'm frantic, like looking around. I'm like, okay, I see serenity prayer and I see like steps and like traditions. I'm like, I see no Lord's Prayer.
Yeah, and you're like, how'd you know? I'm like, what do you mean? How did I know that?
I was raised Jewish. Yeah. What do you want me to do?
Like, of course I know that.
I didn't know the Lord's what?
Yeah.
And then you're like,
yeah,
right.
Like, I don't know it.
I know it. Yeah. Our Father who art in
my hands all sweaty and clammy already.
No. Heaven.
I feel you talking, and I'm like, when?
Yeah.
This is not the Colin I know.
That the cult grabbed me all of a sudden.
This was your plan all along. Yeah. You're like, I'm gonna get her, and I'm gonna all of a sudden, like, yeah, I'm serious. I was like, is the TV crew gonna come out because this isn't real?
That was funny, yeah. When you didn't realize, I was like, oh yeah.
I thought he was looking somewhere, so I kept like trying to. And I'm like, where is he looking?
Yeah. Nope. I knew that one growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I also thought that because they had the meeting in a like square, and then they had chairs on the outside, so they have like table, and then there's chairs. So we again back corner, and I thought the people at the table,
mm-hmm.
I thought those were like in charge.
Oh yeah.
Like because they had the book, and like that was just the chairperson, but like I was like, oh, we should have sat on the other corner because like we're near the guards. Like I don't know what these people are. And I just was like, okay. And yeah.
Did you ever have like when you got so used to the group that you went to and then you went to a different group and it was like just organized a little differently, like the layout, and I was just like, they're doing it wrong here. We're supposed to be in a circle, the tables.
when I went to Florida, the little preamps, they actually like hand them out to like certain people before the meeting.
Okay.
They do
Because
that
at
downtown.
mine, you come in, you grab one, and you read it.
Mhm.
So they
Okay.
like took turns, like they're all right this time. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I will, as you spoke about, like, I also went line by line with my sponsor, and I thought it was the weirdest thing because, you know, we would meet weekly, and I'm kind of like, okay, like, so when's the magic gonna happen? You know, like when,
Right.
and she's like, no, just, you know, this is this way. And she did have a few worksheets. But I sucked at reading because I was drinking so much. Like I hadn't read books. I didn't read books at night. And it was kind of embarrassing because we would take turns and I'm just like, so we're just gonna like read to each other and at first I'm like, we're not doing this whole book, are we?
right,
You
right.
know,
All of it.
not only did we do that book, we also did the 12 and 12. We also did Drop the Rock, but it did feel very weird at first. Like I remember being like, like in going back to grade school, it's like, okay, so like, is it paragraph or like she'd do two paragraph? And I'm like, now what are we doing?
We're doing popcorn.
And then
Yeah.
she go like, so what did you think about that? And I'm like, I was focusing on my next line. Like
My mama asked, like, do you know what that word means? I'm
he
like,
uses ridiculous words.
I'm like, nah. He'd be like, go get that book. It's like the dictionary. And
Well,
I
they
have,
also have one for AA too. It's like a
yep, yep,
big, yeah.
yep.
Bill uses interesting words. Again, I like to remind everyone this 1920s, he was in the stock market crash. Like this was they also like they don't talk about women getting sober. Not only that, I mean, I don't truly appreciate the chapter for the wives because they have the 4 different kinds of women and wives of the Susan and I can't even remember. I actually got very I that was the one chapter I got mad at.
Yeah.
And I was
The
like, you
wife.
know, but again, I'm not mad because that was the times. Like that's how life was. That's you have to share with what is happening now. Otherwise, it's not relatable.
Mm-hmm.
How would a updated blue book look?
That was actually one of the things that made me kind of upset, to be honest. And I think it again comes back to ego and personal, but I was on group conscious. I was told not to go until I was 1 year sober. And I was very excited to be of service. I was excited to like go help. I was very involved. And the things that were said, because they had suggested a big book, but at a 5th grade reading level, because they have found that, especially like in prison, he just uses harder words and like it's not to change the text, it's just to make it more understandable, more relatable because it can sobriety is not supposed to feel like a challenge just to read the literature. The point of AA is like Bill carried the message. He also didn't care if they did the primary purpose, but like he had problems with other drugs. Now, again, mine was alcohol too. But if I'm being honest, like the alcohol led to other things. And it breaks my heart when someone is like, hey, we don't, hey, stick to the primary purpose. Like we don't need to be talking about drugs. Like it's triggering. It's their truth.
Yeah.
That truth might relate to the person in the back who's about to go use tonight. Like you don't know. That's what it's again, look for the similarities.
Mm-hmm.
And I find the similarities, like I thought it was very heartwarming that there was, but it got shut down. And it made me not feel good. And I was in studying recovery at the time. I'm still studying at ASU, and it made me really, really sad to hear people that bent on like it has to stay the same. It's hard because there's this balance of respect, and it saved my life. And I think he said in the end, more will be revealed. And I think some people forget that too.
Mhm.
Right.
He had said he didn't have all the answers. He invested all of his money when he died to finding the cure for alcoholism, or helping. Maybe I think they said not the cure, but for those that are so bad, it could maybe get them to a place where they would be willing to detox to then get the message, like not as in a cure to be able to drink,
Yeah.
but because he also suffered with depression, and he said that was really hard at times. So Bill was I love listening. I've gone and listened to some of his old tapes. If you go dig in the sober dark web,
Yeah.
and he's funny. There's that thing. Don't take it too seriously, and there's some truth to that.
Right.
But it did at first save my life, so it was very serious at first,
Yeah.
and then again, you evolve.
Well, and like a question that's come up a few times, so I'll ask it because it feels like it came up naturally when you asked, about updating the blue book. How do you think Bill would be into doing a podcast to help carry the message or spread?
1000%, yeah. I think
100%. Yep.
Yeah, because like you said, Rachel, he did record himself, and there are speaker meetings that are open for people. Like Dallas Wide is an open one that they do. And I think if he had the opportunity to do a podcast, that
I think
He said it perfectly. It's not promotion, it's attraction.
exactly. Alcoholism was like a dirty secret. It was a red letter A, and we knew it was the secret sober power, like it makes, if you have it, like, I mean, he's pretty teetotaling in the beginning. He says, if you think you're a heavy drinker, you can go we don't know if you'll, when you'll come back, but I know every single example. I'd tried on Mondays. I'd tried on weekends. I'd tried on holidays. Like, I mean, I knew.
just one glass or just after supper.
There's so many different rules I tried.
That one really stuck with me.
But that's not how alcoholism is looked at today. And I don't think there should be a stigma. Like, I have a disease. I'm allergic to alcohol, and I have the disease of more. And hey, that's you could use that for
that phenomenon of drinking. Once I heard that, I was like, you know what? It really makes a lot of sense, because I never could have like one drink.
No, I never wanted one.
Right, exactly.
I just was like, that just doesn't sound fun. Like, I was already ready to have my second. And I also thought, like, being bartending and serving, you were expected to sell too. Like, I mean, no one ever just had one, it's always a refill.
Right, exactly.
Or, I don't know. It's, however the message gets there, I'm cool with. I'm only sharing my truth. So, I'm not like this. There's no secret.
Well, and we're not telling
or,
people how to do it. We're
No.
only telling people what worked for us and just kind of how we perceive the world through our eyes.
But yeah, the stigma of it, we're not trying to be like,
it's bad. Because even when I went in for my first meeting, I was just like, I'm gonna see a bunch of winos. But nope, I seen a bunch of regular people that look like me.
or yeah, I mean, that was the hope I got. And I'm just like, it's not what I thought. Like, I thought it was going to be like a bunch of guys smoking cigarettes and like a white tank top, cowboy hat.
Right, exactly.
Hasn't showered in like 20 days. Like, I don't know. Like, it was nothing like that. Like, everyone was happy.
I always talk about this. When you speak in there, you have to say, hey, my name is Ted. I'm an alcoholic. I used to think that was the stupidest shit ever.
Yeah, I agree with you though. I always thought there was something so weird about that.
The only desire for membership is a desire to stop drinking. All you have to say is, I don't want to drink.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say, I qualify. Hi, my name's, I said, the first time I said alcoholic, I had tears just rolling down my face. They didn't ask us that first meeting. And the second one, I mean, it was the first time I had said it and it felt very heavy.
Right, exactly. I can't believe I just said it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't, and I just had tears. Just, I mean, I thought I was like, life's over. It's a life sentence. Like, we're done. And
Yeah, all our drinking friends, all
Right.
our
I
bar
thought,
friend,
I thought
bartender
everybody was
friends.
going to throw me to the side.
I had my desire chip, and I'm just like looking at it, reading it, and it, to thine own self be true. And I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, I don't know what, and at the end of the day, I'm like, I am a mom, no college education, no job, like no, and him and I are at each other's throats. And again, it was, what I heard was my sponsor would say, if you don't believe, do you believe that I believe? And I was like, yeah, you look like you believe it. And she's like, okay, then use mine. If you can't believe, use the I believe. And that helped me because I was like,
Mhm.
I haven't had someone believe in me in a really long time. And yeah, it's just like when you go there, you feel good.
Really good. Because you hear messages from everybody, like who's been sober, who's gotten sober. And I carried them with me forever. Like, I don't know what old timer, he was just like, when you stop drinking, you start gaining things back that you never thought you'd gain back. And
Yeah,
it's so
100%.
real. So real.
There's things I didn't know that I did want because, I didn't have a clear head. And yeah, I mean, I would have like, again, never thought this would be my life. And I mean, I love it. I love it so much. Like, there's so much, but I'm just so passionate. And Colin tells me, hey, we just do a podcast at a time. We carry the message,
Right,
and
exactly.
we just, the rest will work itself out.
Yeah.
And it'll open new doors. The fact I got the job on the other podcast, I mean, they had hundreds of people.
Congratulations.
No, I don't have it anymore. That's why I started the podcast. I interned there.
But it's what led to
But I was
everything.
so sad. Like, I mean, I was crying. I didn't, I'd never wanted to drink or anything, but I mean, I was sad. And I was like, okay, you know what? It's okay to feel hurt. Like, life doesn't always make you happy. Like, I'm going to remember this. And when a sponsee comes to me with the same feeling, I'm going to be like, it's okay. Like, I've felt sad too.
Mm-hmm.
And we accept it, or we try until you do it. And then you try again the next day. And,
were you still working in the service industry?
Nah, I stopped.
Okay.
Because that would have been like those.
yeah, I said I wouldn't go back. And I mean, again, I left, my hands were so shaky, and it was right when I got pregnant, I left. And I said, I just like didn't, it's also just not the lifestyle I wanted to be around anymore.
Right, exactly.
I didn't
It's
think
not-
I'd be triggered or anything. Like, I did go work a couple of shifts after sobriety and it was fine. Like, I never had anything happen. I never desired to drink. Like, if anything, it's like cringe. Because
very
I'm like,
cringe.
that's what I used to be like. And
Right. When you look back on it, you're like, was that me?
Yeah.
no, I'm like, no, that wasn't me. I was way worse.
I know I haven't
Just
had that desire either, because I've gone to a few, because no one I work with knows that I'm sober or have been for 3+ years now. And when we have had functions at happy hours at like a local restaurant or bar, I'll either just get like a Topo Chico or an NA beer, but I always make sure that I'm doing it incognito. And, you know, eventually I'll probably just say what I'm doing. But I know in the beginning, I just didn't want to have the awkward
The
conversation or people to be
conversation, right,
I
right.
feel
weird
like,
around it.
hey, if I always say like, so I do not do NAs. I don't like I've never had a non-alcoholic wine or beer. Like, I'm like, why would I pay
Mhm.
I want juice or water or soda. Like, there are so many better things. Lemonade, like,
It's a mind thing.
for me again. So, but we're different. And I mean, I don't have any problem with him, but I always do reserve, say, I'm not against NA, but every time it comes, the option is my way. I haven't had an urge to take it. And I've told him, like, you might end up going to a work happy hour and you might get the urge to share, but that's not today. You
Yeah.
know, like, I feel like listening to my gut, but I don't know.
Mm.
It better not have alcohol. I already smell my non-alcoholic drinks that aren't pretending to be non-alcoholic. That's weird. Like, I will smell. I don't trust anyone at restaurants. That's why I have my Stanley. I've seen mixed up drinks happen before, and I don't want that to be me.
You know, and that was another thing I never thought it would be true, but like you said, it helps you you know, I feel my feelings now, and
Mhm.
I never thought that would be a benefit, because I used and I was trying to not feel my feelings, and
Exactly.
we
That's
realize how important it is, and we even tell our son too when it's like, I understand you're upset, I understand, you know, you're disappointed, and we say it's okay to feel these feelings and to be upset.
yourself, you realize you're the root of all the problems because you
Mhm.
always trying to displaced on something else. Like that was the problem. Now it was you. You were drinking. You were the problem.
So
Right.
it's been
Right.
great to
This
finally
is
reach
this is
out.
great.
And
Yep.
we're still learning. So this is, we're hopefully, I don't know what we have in store. We're just,
You're gonna make it to the 100th episode.
Yeah, one day at a time, one podcast at a
you
time.
know what?
Mm.
If that's what is planned, that's what's planned. I'm not, I had a realization today, like, I try to be very hard on myself and like that's my ego. And I really do need to check that. Like, it's okay to not be an incredible podcaster right now. It's
Nah, like this podcast is so dope. When I don't get
we're
in,
trying.
I listen to this.
Well, we just like having the lighter side. Like, we found a lot of I like speaker meetings. There's nothing wrong with it.
Mhm.
And I like hearing other people's stories, but sometimes I'm like, yeah, that shit we used to do was dumb, wasn't it? Like, that shit was dumb.
Mine, when you think about the old things you used to do, you be like, that was what I used to do. Like, get out of here.
Oh man,
Yeah.
what's worse is when I wake up and I'll see Facebook, the like memories, and I'm like looking back at like my statuses from like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm like, oh, and it'd be like, we're going on mill tonight. Hit me up if you want to drink.
Why
Or
did anybody let me post that?
yeah, and I was just like, but it's also a good reminder to just like look back. It's
Where you
cringeworthy
came
for
from?
me,
It's so cringe.
but it's giving cringe, as they say. But it's good to like just look at and see where I'm at now, just as a human being, and
Because I seen one the other day that was like, if we don't have open bar wedding, don't invite me.
yeah, exactly. That used to be my thought
Well, we
too.
would get mad if it wasn't. And I had a hairbrush that was a flask. So I would have like, oh, I gotta go brush my hair. And
Wow.
it was full of Jameson. And I had two at my sister's wedding, which I
It's
made
supposed
amends
to.
for. I made amends for.
Those are supposed to be
And
a gag gift, and you took them to.
like, I mean, it was bad. And like, I'm
See,
not proud of that, but that's how it was.
I went to my first open bar wedding sober. I felt so good.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
us too. We've loved sober weddings. Like,
Yeah.
well, other people aren't sober, but we're like, it's cool. I like people watching.
Although
Right.
it
Right.
was probably a good thing because um, our first wedding we were supposed to go to sober, we would have only been a couple months sober, but we got COVID. So we had to cancel, and it was a good friend of ours, but that one might have been tough because that's a pretty drinking crowd.
And I was told the same thing, is that so you go to the wedding, and guess what? If you have a problem, you call me, and guess what? You get your keys and you leave.
Mm-hmm.
You call and I'm like, well, what if I can't drive? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sober. Like I'm so used to not being able to drive.
Yeah.
The funniest thing is, my best friend, he was there too. He's like, I'm about to go to the liquor store and get some tequila. I was like, it's an open bar. Why are you going there? He's like, this is what we used to do, remember?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I remember going to, and this was when I was a year and a half sober. I went to a buddy's bachelor party, and it was kind of nice to be the designated driver for all these guys and being of service. And I had no problem, going down to the bars with everyone and kind of hanging out and being the chaperone. And it was also a thing. It's like, I realized my friends, my group that I drank with, I was the one that was really fueling the fire all the time.
Right,
And then now that
exactly.
I'm sober and I'm around those same friends, I'm kind of like, you guys are kind of lame. You're not drinking as I'm like, you're only having like 2 or 3 drinks. It was me that was forcing everyone to really take it to the next level.
Right.
Yep.
So
And you learn that those are the things you learn. And I also was told, if you are really like, you have an event, a wedding, baby shower, et cetera, find how you can be of service. Like, think of a time like how you got home safe when you were drunk at a baby shower. Like, could you be that someone for someone else? And you don't do
Right.
it with like expecting anything in return. You just do it because someone once did it for you. And you know that you can get them home safe. And like, that's being of service. And like, service is one of our pillars.
Right, exactly.
We give back because we're very lucky to get sobriety. So the only way you get to keep it is to continue doing the favors that were done for you without even you knowing.
Well, is there anything else you want the listeners or anyone else to know about your book or your Substack, or where they can find you?
I have all the links for it that you sent me that I'm going to put in the show notes.
We got my Substack, my book. I feel like I'm spreading the message to other people and showing other people that it can be done.
Yeah,
it's not like a magic trick or anything.
No, it's just pretty much conversations like this, and you learn what you learn along the way, and you just keep trusting. I can tell you how I felt.
Because you gotta put yourself in that same spot. When you're drinking, do you want to hear that? Hell no. If somebody would have told you go to AA, you'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah, that would be exactly what I thought.
That's exactly what I said after my mom. I'm like, of course you would say AA. I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, you were supposed to, I thought she was going to take me to the loony bin. Because again, it wasn't my drinking. I was suffering from mental illness.
Or your husband was being a dick.
It was all your fault.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Thank God. I mean, I'm glad. Getting sober is the best thing that ever happened to me. So
to us, yeah, for sure.
No, to me. And I mean, good for you, but
yeah.
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, it is definitely, and it's nice having a sober household. Like,
I'm excited, to see Evan's, growing up and upbringing and being able to recall, his milestones and being able to look back and remember them clearly.
All right. Well, I will put everything in the show notes.
Thank you, guys.
Go Cowboys.
Yeah, go Cowboys.
I love that.
No, thank you so much. This was fun talking to you and getting to meet you finally.
And I hope that if anything was relatable, please reach out. I will put all the newsletter contact information below. So, all right. Well, have a good rest of your evening. I'm going to press end record.